Hello and welcome to Football Heaven 24/7. I'm your host Jamie Carter. This is episode 11, episode 12 even. Going to do it in two parts today, two 11-minute segment videos. This is part one of episode 12. So anyway, going to dive straight into it. Without any doubt at all, in the English football at the weekend, the biggest game was Manchester City against Liverpool. The top two teams in the Premier League, the two top teams in the country, came head to head. It did not disappoint. I predicted 3-2 to Manchester City. I was only just out. It finished 2-2 in the end. Some great goals. De Bruyne had a great deflected shot after about 5 minutes and scored. Liverpool virtually went back down the other end and scored through Diogo Jota, who seems to score big goals in very big games. De Bruyne, like I say, scored and he's on a purple patch at the moment. He's got about 5 goals, I think, in the last 4 games. He's been playing fantastic. Anyway, but it got to about the 35-minute mark and Manchester City took the lead again. And and it looked like they were going to go on and win it. They were dominating sort of like the last 15 minutes of the first half. But straight away in the second half, Liverpool came fighting back. Sadio Mane scored a goal on like literally the first minute of the second half. And it stayed at 2-2 for the rest of the game. There was plenty of chances. Manchester City had a goal disallowed for offside through Raheem Sterling. So that would have been my prediction, right? I don't think he was offside, but I would say that because I was hoping that it would be 3-2 to Manchester City, but because of my prediction. But that's the way it turned out in the end. So there's not much difference at the top of the table. There's still only 1 point difference between the two teams. Manchester City now sit on 74 points and Liverpool finished sitting second with 73. Looking at the rest of the table, there hasn't been much change in the top four. Top four stayed the same. Chelsea won emphatically at the weekend. They won 6-0 away at Southampton. Goals by Alonso, 2 from Mason Mount, 2 from Timo Werner and 1 from Kai Havertz. Made it 6-0. And Chelsea were already 4-0 up at half-time, so they absolutely, after 2 really bad games, losing at home to Brentford 4-1 and losing at home to Real Madrid 3-1 in the Champions League, they answered their critics by getting back on track and cementing that third spot. I don't think Spurs will catch them in that third spot, even though Spurs had a fantastic win on Saturday, winning 4-0 away at Aston Villa, where Heung-min Son scored a hat-trick and Kulusevski got the other goal for Spurs. Spurs are on fire at the moment, but Chelsea have just got that 5-point gap over them, which I feel will just be enough for Chelsea to retain that third place. And I believe the top 3 teams go automatically into the group stages of the Champions League, whereas Tottenham will have to do like a qualifying round to make sure that they get into the group stage of the Champions League next season. So it's looking very good for those teams. Arsenal lost to Brighton, so that gave the advantage to Tottenham. Even though Arsenal have got a game in hand on Tottenham, the goal difference is a lot less. So I feel like Tottenham will not give up that 4th spot now, and I feel Arsenal are going to finish in the Europa League, probably along with West Ham or Manchester United for the other spot for the Europa League. Manchester United was shocking again at the weekend. They basically lost 1-0 to Everton, who obviously needed to win to have a chance of staying up. Because of Burnley losing 2-0 at Norwich on Sunday, it means that there's a 4-point gap that's opened up now between Everton and Burnley, although Burnley do have a game in hand. But when I watched Burnley, even though they had a great win against Everton in midweek, earlier on in the week, last week, it wasn't. I thought they would go on and cement and win that game comfortably. I think I said 3-1 to Burnley or 2-1 to Burnley. But fair play to Norwich, even though they've not got much to fight for, they had a fantastic win, which I would say gives them an outside chance of staying up, but there's still a 7-point gap there. So I really feel that Norwich have gone already, and I think if most Norwich fans are honest, they'll think they're gone as well. So yeah, great win for Norwich, 2-0, but it's not going to be enough, I don't think, for them. Watford got absolutely battered by Leeds United, who obviously needed to win to make sure that they've got a chance of staying up. I now feel that Leeds will breathe a lot easier because there's a big gap now between Leeds and the relegation zone. You're looking at a 9-point gap, so I can't see Leeds losing 3 on the bounce, and Burnley or Watford winning the next 3. So in my mind, that bottom 3 now, I think Everton even are the only ones that stand a chance of falling into it. But I still think Burnley, Watford, and Norwich are the teams that are going down. Newcastle got a great win on the Friday night, just gone, winning 1-0 against Wolves. A penalty from Chris Wood. That guaranteed them, I think, survival, because that opened up like a 10-point gap, and I just can't see them relinquishing that. Looking for the other game, I believe that's all the Premier League games I've covered. Oh no, I haven't covered all of them. Leicester City's playing Crystal Palace. Play Crystal Palace on Sunday. It would have been a birthday for their former owner, who unfortunately died, as we know, in a helicopter crash a few seasons ago. He would be looking down from heaven proud, I'd say, of the fact that Leicester City won 2-1 in that game. And there was another game where Brentford beat West Ham. West Ham were probably very tired because they've got a very thin squad. They went away to Brentford and lost 2-0. Goals from Ivan Toney and Mbeumo meant that Brentford stay in 13th place. And Brentford are definitely safe. Brentford have had an amazing season. They've surpassed anything that anyone expected of them. They've just done wonders, basically. Right, I'm going to nip into the Championship. This is going to be probably the last segment that I'm going to concentrate on. Part 1. Part 2 is going to come virtually straight after this one. But anyway, for the remainder of this one, we'll go into the Championship. Now, the Championship, Fulham are still at the top, having lost, though, surprisingly, at home to Coventry on Sunday. They lost 3-1. Coventry, a fantastic result for them. It gives them an outside chance of still being able to get into the playoffs, but it's highly unlikely. The playoffs at the moment have still got Nottingham Forest in third. They had a fantastic win, 2-0 at home to Birmingham, which put them in third. There's Huddersfield Town, who are playing tonight against Luton Town. If Huddersfield do win tonight, they'll leapfrog Forest and go into third. But I fancy a 1-1 draw in that game between Huddersfield and Luton. Luton are also in the playoffs in 5th behind Huddersfield currently. And Sheffield United are in the 6th place. Just outside the playoffs, you've got Blackburn, Middlesbrough and Millwall. Running through the results from the weekend, Blackburn drew 1-1 with Blackpool. Bristol City drew 1-1 with Peterborough, who were virtually relegated, although not officially yet. Middlesbrough had a shock. They was in the playoffs at the start of the day, I believe. They had a shock from Hull, who basically already cemented their survival for another season in the Championship by winning 1-0. Goal from Lewis Potter. Millwall absolutely smashed Barnsley, pretty much condemning Barnsley to get to relegation. They won 4-1. As I said earlier, Forest won 2-0 against Birmingham, which moved them up to 3rd place from, I believe, 5th or 6th at the start of the day. QPR continue their really, really bad run. They lost 2-1 away at Preston. They're now sitting in 10th, excuse me, which is not good for them. Cardiff had a great win, although I still think Reading are going to stay up because they've got an 8-point gap on Barnsley and Derby. They lost 2-1 at home to Cardiff. Cardiff got back on track after losing pretty badly to Swansea 4-0 the other weekend. Sheffield United and Bournemouth was the early kickoff on Saturday, but that ended in a 0-0 stalemate. So no joy for either of those teams. In fact, if Huddersfield win tonight, they go within 5 points of automatic promotion behind Bournemouth, and Forest are only 6 points off them, and they seem to have the momentum at the moment. Bournemouth seem to be slipping a tiny bit in their bid to retain the that 2nd place promotion spot. Fulham are going to finish champions. We can see that already, even though they had that slip against Coventry at the weekend. Looking at the 2 other games in the Championship, Swansea was playing against Derby County. Swansea went 2 goals up early on through Perot, who's got 20 goals for them this season already, with, I believe, only 6 more games to go. So he could potentially get up to about 25 if he plays really well for the end of the season. And West Brom, they continue their inconsistent form, which has meant that they're finishing they're 11th at the moment, which means that they're not getting anywhere near what people expected, which was the playoffs at the very least, or automatic promotion with their squad. They lost 3-1 at home to Stoke City. There was an own goal by Livermore. Brown and Baker got the other goals for Stoke for them to have a fantastic win there. So that's my review of the Premier League and the Championship from the weekend. Mitrovic continues his outstanding goal-scoring form in the Championship. He's now got 38 goals. Fulham have got another 6 games to go. So it's quite easily possible that Mitrovic could end up with about 42, 43 goals at least. So the way he's going. As I say, the outstanding games at the weekend that stood out was the title. Well, what they were billing as the title decider. We're still no sure who's going to win the title between Manchester City and Liverpool. Manchester City have an advantage. You would say that both teams are capable of winning their last, I believe, 8 games of the season, I think, or 7 games or whatever they've got. 7 games. But it's going to be very, very tight. In the next episode, I'm going to be doing, or the next part of this episode, I'm going to be doing the League 1 and League 2 games, and also I'm going to be running through my predictions for the midweek games this week coming. Thank you for you liking and subscribing Football Heaven 24/7. I've been your host, Jamie Carter. We'll continue to get bigger and better. All the best. Have a great week. I'll see you in part 2. Bye.